So let's not waste any more time. Let me go ahead and bring on our special guest. I've got Matthew Beavers with us from Back to the Covenant tonight. Uh, how you doing, Matthew?
What's up, brother? Great.
All right, man. So thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, real quick, just on the off random chance that someone in my audience doesn't already know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
So my name is Matthew Beavers. What is up, everybody? Shalom to everybody that keeps the Torah that's watching. So I run Back to the Covenant. So the mission with Back to the Covenant is getting back to a covenant relationship with the Most High and His Son, sticking to what is in Scripture while staying away from man-made traditions as best as possible. So just a quick synopsis of what we do. And there's a ton of teachings that we do it Back to the Covenant. We love our scriptural cosmology, obviously. But that's not all that. I mean, if you never heard of me, which I'd be super surprised if somebody that subbed to your channel that's like, who is this bald-headed dude with this nice beard? But if you go to my playlist, you'll see like all kind of topics. I've had Randy on, me and him talking about Nephilim and giants. I think I had you on another time. What was the other topic we talked about?
I think I was on twice about maybe the fallen angels and spirits and demons, and then Nephilim as well.
Yeah, it was 2 Truth About Cosmology episodes. Definitely, I definitely remember the Nephilim and giants. I don't remember what the other one was, but I've had you on twice.
All I can remember is my terrible audio the first time you had me on. I can't live that down. I hope so. Can everybody hear me okay? Yell out in the chat if you can hear it, both of us, or if we need to turn our mics.
And we get a 1, like everybody says.
Right. All right. Well, you actually read one of my slides for me ahead of time. I wanted to tell everybody your channel, it looks like someone put the link in the chat already. So thank you for that. But yeah, you got what is that, 490 something videos? So you cover a lot of topics. If you haven't subscribed to Back to the Covenant, click the link, go do that. You won't regret it. He's got a lot of good stuff. And I actually put the synopsis of what their mission was on here. You want to read that for us one more time?
Yeah, I guess you probably pulled that off one of the books I've written. The mission of Back to the Covenant is to help believers in Messiah get back to their scriptural roots, get back to a covenant relationship with the Creator of heaven and earth, while overcoming man-made traditions not found in these scriptures.
Yep. Yeah, and I think you do an excellent job with that. I know I reached out to you to kind of do a little bit of a promo spot for my cosmology book, Constellations. And it was when you met to pick up that book. I think you're probably one of the first people that talked to me about the bad Trinity doctrine, or at least the way that it's taught. And I gave you a little pushback on that. But you were one of the first people that got me thinking and got me digging into it. And I got to looking and watching some videos and studying the scripture. And I was like, you know what? This crazy guy might be onto something. So I appreciate that. But yeah, he covers a lot of good topics. And I wanted to kind of
go ahead. Jump in real quick, just so the viewers know at home, we both have wrote a scriptural cosmology book, and we actually lived in the same town. Yeah. So this conversation, he's talking about the Trinity. We were actually in front of where he worked, and I was pitching stuff about against the Trinity. Were you at work that day? I think you were.
I was, yeah. It was the first time we had met, and we're in person, and I'm standing there, and you're like, yeah, you said, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I gave some pushback. I'm like, man, don't be pushing back on that. Don't be talking bad about the Godhead, you know. But yeah. After much study, I'm glad you brought it up.
Nice.
So while we're talking about your channel, though, I want to kind of dig into what your process is like for content creation. Kind of walk us through how you do those things.
So I'll share what I used to do, and then so I used to make these highly edited videos. Sometimes they would be 15 minutes. Sometimes they get up to 40 minutes. And if anybody has done video editing out there, They know like you're investing a chunk of hours in like a 40-minute video. You could spend 10, 15, 20 hours getting that
Easy.
jogger on point easy. And so I did that for a while and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is insane. And so and then I was watching this guy and he would upload every day. And I'm like, how does this dude do this? And so I was like, oh, the light bulb came on. I can do live streams and pull clips. So that's what I've been doing for ever since I did the started Truth About Cosmology series, which was in I think 2021, maybe last year. I don't know. It's been time flies and you got a lot going on and stuff. But so normally what I do is I like to have people. No, it's a rare occasion I'll do a live stream myself. So I love to have awesome people on. And if anybody's seen any of my Truth About Cosmology series, the actual 4 live streams I've had, I actually only did one myself. I had Randy on twice, of course, Josh from Found Earth Brothers. Let's see, I had Wes Blaze on the first one, so that was really cool. And then Sean was on, of course. Can't leave Sean out. Ken from Hanging on His Word. So basically, the content creation is nowadays because my time is valuable. So
Right.
once it's gone forever. So I'll do a PowerPoint presentation. So I'll invest the time to get the PowerPoint presentation and do the research. So, and I want whenever I do a live stream, even if you've been keeping Torah and you've been reading the scriptures and studying it for decades, I still want some maybe little nugget in there for those people. And then of course the newbies, I want to like overwhelm them with as much information as I can, and hopefully a lot of people will take notes and go back and fact check what I share or give shares. And so basically I'll do a live stream and then I'll just pull little clips out of it. And I'm actually gonna next few weeks I'm gonna have a few days off because of the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
The worldly holidays, so I have some extra days off. So I'm gonna see if I can get like maybe 5 or 6 months ahead. Hopefully, that'll be sweet. So that's how the content creation. That's the process for that nowadays.
Gotcha. So you move mostly to live streams, and then you take and clip from those.
Yeah, I will do a short because I know you have to go with the trends because I like to buck the trend sometimes. But if you want to get your stuff out there, I'll do a short and it's raw. It's not edited or anything. It's just I will put something in my spirit. I'm like, okay, I can do that in a minute, and then I'll just get my iPhone out, hit play, and then just upload it later and hashtag shorts, and there it is. So you got to do shorts because they push them so much nowadays. Everybody's attention span is like, woo.
And that's why it's just getting smaller and smaller. I've got shorts to where they're 60 seconds and my average view duration's like 4 seconds.
Oh
I'm like, really, guys, you couldn't give it a minute?
Wow.
But I think the stats are kind of stacked anyway, so I try not to focus too much on that.
Yep.
So for someone looking to get into this, for a new content creator, someone that's wanting to start a channel or something, what kind of tips or advice would you have for them if they're just getting into this? What is YouTube?
Oh my gosh, I didn't know I'd get a question like this. Awesome.
Surprise.
Awesome. I would say if you're wanting to grow, definitely reach out to big channels and say, can I have you on for like an interview? Because that's what I'm trying to forget that guy's name. He did a podcast where he'd have like super successful people on, and I mean, and he was making money, but we're not talking about making money. We're talking about growing a YouTube channel. But definitely, if you want to grow it, I would say somewhat quickly, reach out to maybe people you admire. Like if you get into teaching Torah observance, maybe reach out to Sean Griffin and say, hey, brother, your stuff has been a blessing to me. Can I have you on for an interview? And there's a high likelihood if it's a great interview, he'll put it on his channel, and then he'll say, hey, y'all need to go over to da-da-da. So, and he actually did that to me in the beginning before I took things serious, I think in 2020. And he's like, he has so many subscribers. And I forget what it was then. It was like maybe less than 500. He's like, y'all need to go over there. And his channel's blowing up. So that's one tip is nice. Thanks. Appreciate it, Jeff Porter. So that's one thing you can do at least when it comes to growth, is
Right.
reach out to bigger channels and see if you can interview them, and then maybe they'll name drop for
Yeah.
you later.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did. When I wrote my books, I reached out to you, I reached out to West Blaze, and from doing that, it's built a lot of connections and gone from just books now to an actual ministry on YouTube as well. So I
Yep.
think that's solid advice. Now, speaking of books, you don't just do YouTube. You've written the biblical cosmology book, but you've also written some other books. So I kind of wanted to talk about those tonight and
Sweet. Thanks.
um, let you let you get some airtime, and we'll delve into your process on those as well. But the first one that I've got here is leaving a spiritual legacy. You did a 2 volume there, and it's got 5 stars on Amazon. Somebody you got to love the Amazon reviews. It's good. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
But
like a 4 second
you know,
YouTube short. Like, come on, can I get
right,
a little more?
right. Yeah. So, do you want to read what that book's about, and I kind of talk about it a little bit?
Oh man, I might have to make it bigger.
Did you see that?
Okay, I'm good now. Yeah, I just had to full
Okay.
screen it. All right, let's see. Is reading and understanding the scriptures a challenge at times? Leaving a Spiritual Legacy, Volume 1 helps you get a deeper understanding on some very important topics found in the scriptures. If you're seeking the truth and a closer walk with Yahweh, leaving a spiritual legacy will help you accomplish just that. Get your spiritual shovel out. I don't know why. I used to love saying that back in the day. And let's start digging into his word. When you're done reading volume 1, feel free to grab a copy of volume 2. Volume 2 will pick up right where volume 1 left off. So I have to, I guess, share why there's 2 volumes. So this was let's see, should I show you that? Yes, I will. Maybe it'll be a blessing to somebody. So, because ever since I've wrote these books, I've talked to quite a few people, and they're like, "Oh, I should write a book," and I'll challenge them quick. Yes, you should. So, okay, you're still there. Good. I hope you didn't drop
Yes.
off. So I was in the process of writing this book, and I sat on it for like, I don't remember, 6, 7 months, and then I did like a 3-month coaching program. And this lady in Canada, she coached me and she challenged me to finally publish the book and put it out there in the world. So I'm not sitting on it. And so I actually had to hire a coach to publish the first book just to get past some of the limiting beliefs in my mindset. And so for anybody out there that's on the fence and you're wanting to write a book and I was directing you to write a book, I'm challenging you right now. Don't sit on it like I did, and I didn't spend that much money. It was like $90 or something. So it wasn't like I dropped like $1,000 for the
Right.
coaching program. But anybody out there sitting on a book and the Most High is calling you to write it and bless the world, please don't do what I did. Put it out there. And so I finished it, and then it was a chunk. It was like, I think it was over 500 pages, and I'm like, there's no way, dude, because most people won't read a book that's 100 pages. So, and that's kind of the mindset I took with the Truth About Cosmology book. So I was like, dang, this thing's thick. I'm gonna have to break it up in 2. So that's why there's 2 volumes. So,
Yeah.
For anybody that might be wondering, and that was my first book. So I've currently published 4. So everyone's a learning experience. You learn a little bit, and you're like, okay, let me try this. Okay, I don't know if that worked too good, and then let me try this next time. So that,
Yeah, it's an experience, that's for sure.
yeah.
Making the jump from nonfiction to fiction is even a bigger experience. Do you plan on making that jump anytime soon? You got any fantastical stories to tell?
I have that, but I don't know if I'll ever do fictions. But I
Okay.
have to say, I was getting amped up in your intro. I was like, man, that looks good, dude. Maybe I need to get a copy of that.
Yeah, you should check it out. But this isn't the only 2 books that you've written. I found another one here. It says, "When does a scriptural day begin?" Um, and this is just taken from the back of the book for anyone that hasn't seen it. "When does a scriptural day begin?" Takes its readers on a journey to find the truth with this complex yet important topic. When exactly does a scriptural day begin? Does a day begin at evening or morning? Does it even matter? We hear that a lot. Why does this matter on a
Yep.
lot of topics? These are questions every believer must answer for themselves. We must test all things, like Paul said in 1 Thessalonians. Prove all things, hold fast to that which is good. 1 Thessalonians 5:21. Let's test this topic and see where the Most High's word takes us. Here's the scriptural shovel again. Get that out, and let's see what truths we can dig up. So, what were your thoughts about this book? Like, what inspired you or drove you to write on this topic?
Okay, so I have to admit, so this was book number 3, and so you show book number 2. It's all good that they're out of order, so that's how it is. So I had no intentions of writing this book or the cosmology book, but I think that's how the Most High works. He's like, ha, ha, I'll show you. So back in 2020, I was in we label it the North Georgia group. It was a family of believers that would get together. We didn't really have a building per se, but we get together like people's families or houses, whatever. So it was like, I guess, a home fellowship, if you want to label it that. And there's a verse in Proverbs that says, iron sharpens iron. And I was getting that from some of the brothers. So I did formally attend a congregation in the same town where you live. Mm-hmm. And so at that assembly, so I'm not trying to judge or anything or throw them under the bus. I'm just keeping it real about the situation. Sure. You didn't really rock the boat if you had a different understanding. You kept it to yourself, because there wasn't always fruits of the spirit. If you brought up a certain topic like scriptural cosmology, you're
kidding me. I mean,
yeah,
seriously?
Literally, I got the nickname Flat Beavers from somebody at that assembly, which at first I was like, what? Now I'm like, that's funny. I'll take that as a badge of honor. Thank you. So just because I get how important that topic is. And so we left that assembly and started fellowshipping with this home group, and I was really getting sharpened. And back in 2020, I had to change about 6 of my foundational understandings of certain topics. And one of them was when the day starts, because there was a brother in that group, and maybe he's watching. What's up, Drew? Love you, dude. So he was studying this topic for like a year. And I remember telling Candace, because he would bring it up, I remember telling Candace, my wife, I'm like, why is this dude studying this topic so much? I don't get it. And then one day, the light bulb came on. So we were at another brother's house, and we were talking about the calendar, which is a very important topic. And there's so many opinions, and people get at it. But once again, you got to operate with the fruits of the spirit with topics. And so another brother, Sterling, he's like, well, you can do the calendar perfectly, but if you don't know when the day starts, it's all messed up. And that was like when the Most High hit me on the head with a brick. And I'm like, okay, Abba, I'll finally study this topic. You got my attention. And so I did what I do. And I'm sure you're the same way. You dig deep, you do your research, and I hit it hard for like 90 days and spent tons of hours. So I had this PDF that was like, I don't know, 75 pages long. And I was like, I could do a few things, and this could be a book. And that's what happened. And so, I mean, I never intended on writing that book, but the Most High directed me to study the topic. And it's very important, because if you don't know when a day starts, if you're a Torah observant person out there, you don't know how to keep Sabbath correctly. You don't know how to keep Passover correctly. You don't really know how to keep all the feasts correctly. So it actually affects quite a bit of Torah observance for anybody out there that keeps Torah. So, and so I won't go into the topic, but that's just how the process of writing the book came about. So it's very interesting.
All right. Well, I think you said this was your 3rd book, so it looks like I'm probably going to backtrack and go to your 2nd book here.
Yeah,
Torah 101.
Don't even worry about it, brother.
Yeah, this one also has great reviews, 5-star. Someone said that I'm so glad I ordered this book. It has helped me tremendously to understand Yah's Torah. It clearly explains and backs up the information with the scriptures. So, awesome. You want to read, if you can see, do you want to read the rest of that slide from the back of your book?
Yeah, I got it full screen, so I'm good. Yeah, I don't see the comments. No, normally I'm doing the live stream, so I'd have to open my phone, but it's all good. Live chat can do their thing. What's up, Tyler? I know you're in there. All right, John 8:32, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. These authoritative words that Messiah declared over 2,000 years ago still remain true today. The choice is yours. Will you accept the truth and live a life of obedience, or reject the truth and live a life different than what Messiah lived? In Torah 101, Building a Solid Scriptural Foundation, many truths will be revealed on how to live an abundant and obedient life that is pleasing to the creator of the universe. So I guess since I've read that, I can jump into the process of this book.
Real quick before you do.
Sure.
This one's a big topic. This could go in a lot of areas. Yep. And I love that you put in here that obedience or reject the truth and live a life different than what Messiah lived. You know, are we going to live like him, or are we going to live different? And I hear so often that, you know, in the same breath, someone will say that this old covenant, as they put it, or the law of Moses is done away with, but then they will tell you immediately you have to live like Jesus lived. And it's like, do you know how Jesus lived? Because you just told me to do the opposite. So I'm glad that you put that in the back there, and I'm going to let you talk about it, and what inspired you to write this, what you felt were some of the most important topics to hit on in a limited amount of pages, because as everyone knows, this could be a 1,000-page book and you still wouldn't cover it all. So how did you pick and choose what you wanted to cover in here?
So yeah, when you were talking, I was thinking of WWJD.
Yeah.
What would he do? So this was the second book. So this was like a learning lesson for me. So I took the first book. So basically the first book, I didn't get to mention it earlier, but it's appropriate right here. So the first book was a bunch of random topics. So I pick a random. So basically what I did with, and I could have mentioned this earlier when you mentioned if somebody starts a YouTube channel, this can be used for any kind of content. So years ago, I heard the concept of repurposing content. So you can write an article, then you can turn it into a podcast or turn it into a video on YouTube, and it's still the same content. You can reuse it. So I had a bunch of old sermons that I gave at that assembly we used to attend, so that the pastor would, we jokingly said, all right, I'm calling you out of the bullpen, and I would come in and give a sermon if he was out of town or he didn't have a sermon ready. So I took a bunch of old sermons and just made it a chapter in that first book, Leaving Spiritual Legacy. But the Torah 101 book is more hyper focused on Torah observance. Like there's a chapter dedicated to Sabbath. There's a chapter dedicated to the tzitzits, or the tassels, talked about Numbers 15 and in Deuteronomy as well. There's one about eating clean. I think you're actually starting to cover some of these topics. I think you talked about eating clean recently, didn't you?
Yeah, I'll say it was my last video. I think so.
Yeah, I saw that. So I took the mindset and approach with this book, like if there's a big, and of course you can give it to somebody that's been keeping Torah for decades, but if somebody just comes out of Christianity and they're hungry for truth, and they're realizing, oh, I need to do what the Messiah did, like you mentioned a minute ago. I need to keep the Torah. And so you hand them this book, it's like a one-on-one class, so to speak. Like, oh, I need to keep the Sabbath. Let me read that chapter, or just whatever the topic. I don't even remember how many topics I covered in there. I think you have a copy, don't you?
I do, and I was looking for. I normally keep it on the shelf below me here, but I think I moved it to my bookshelf downstairs.
Yeah, I
was going to hold it up. But.
Yeah, I think I gave away the last one I had, so I don't even remember how many chapters are in it. That's pretty bad, but it's all good. So basically, it's like a beginner's guide for anybody on the very fundamental and important topics when it comes to keeping Torah that I think all believers should do their best to. I don't know if master is the right word, because it's becoming set apart and righteous is a lifelong thing. So, I mean, because like I mentioned a few minutes ago, I went to that assembly for over 15 years, and I really wasn't challenged. I mean, there was a sermon every Sabbath. We had a Torah study. We go back and forth, but not to say I wasn't being fed, but I wasn't being challenged on some things. And then I went to this this other assembly, home assembly, and these other brothers were like challenging me, like, "Hey, here's some more information on the calendar. You might want to go back and look at it." I'm like, "Uh-oh." And when you get new information, you have a choice. Either you keep doing what you're doing, you ignore it, or you humble yourself and actually look at it. So I got humbled quite a few times. So that's really the mindset with this book, is just covering all the basic stuff that we should understand and practice pretty much.
Because I mean, to me, it almost seems like your average Christian, or in your most churches, people are looking for something more than just, you've been covered from, the all your sins, past, present, and future, which I can't stand that doctrine. Basically, the once saved, always saved. Say a prayer, repeat after me, and
Yep.
you're good to go, regardless of how you live. I couldn't disagree with that more. But it seems like people are searching for something, a deeper, more meaningful way to serve and worship the Father. And I think looking at the way Jesus lived and looking at how the Father wants us to worship Him is an excellent way to fulfill that longing. That we tend to be like, okay, well, I've done my checklist. I've gone to Sunday school today. I've gone to church today. Let's go out to eat, and I might go back Wednesday, might not. We'll be back next weekend. So I think digging into this topic is a great way to build that relationship and get more of a solid foundation. And this book definitely helps with that. So I appreciate my copy.
And that was cool. I was able to hand it to you at the coffee shop in Calhoun.
At the coffee shop, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think I had. Coffee shop.
Yeah, I mean, I never had coffee. I always had Coke, but it's okay. It was a nice hangout spot.
Yep, it's a nice coffee shop.
Yeah. So this brings us to your last book, your most recent book, Truth About Cosmology, Overcoming Doctrines of Demons. And until you really dig into the topic, you don't realize how that hits home. Even the word heliocentric is just steeped in demonic. Oh, it blows my mind how I ever thought that was the truth and would try to twist scripture around to fit my understanding. So this one here, this had a ton of reviews. Obviously,
actually,
I couldn't.
Did you know? I saw the other day your cosmology book and me and Josh's cosmology book. This one both have 30 reviews right now, unless that's changed.
Really?
So I thought that was cool.
That is cool. I guess I gained 2 more. The last count I had was 28 for mine, but I can't check it every day because some of them aren't always nice. Yeah. But it looked like all of yours were glowing. I think you had a 4.9 star average on this book, which is awesome. Do you want to read the reviews, or then I'll read what it's about?
Sure. Biblical and scientific truth of where you live. Excellent primer to understand our true cosmology. Amazing book with great information. Yeah, these are concise, because some of them are pretty lengthy.
Oh, yeah. I just took like a big lead statement from each one.
Yeah, like a sentence out of it.
Mm-hmm. And then it says, this book is amazing, a must read for seeking the actual truth. With biblical cosmology being one of the most censored topics on the internet, it's time to see what they're hiding and why they've worked so hard to hide it without all of the disinformation popping up. Unlike the internet, this book will overload you with the proofs, observations, and experiments that destroy the Big Bang narrative and bring esteem back to the Father where it belongs. On this journey to the truth, you'll also find answers to the 2 toughest questions of why they lie and who they are. So very well said.
So Josh gets credit for, he actually wrote that part that we just read on the back.
Okay.
And so awesome. Trivia question about the book. He only wrote 1 chapter in the whole book. Have you read it, Randy?
I have not. I'm going to be honest. I have not sat down and read it yet.
So trivia question for anybody watching that has read the book. Which chapter do you think Josh wrote?
Let's see here.
See what they say.
We need some Jeopardy music.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Is that Jeopardy?
Ancient Hope can't answer. They edited.
So it's actually chapter 2. So it's funny. I've had how many meetups with Josh? You've been to a couple of them, haven't you?
Yes.
So the first time I went to a meetup, I met him, and then everyone after that, I think the book was wrote or in the process. And so it's funny. The last couple ones we did, I'd probably bring like, I don't know, 30 copies or whatever, and then I'd make an announcement to, like I said, like, okay, funny, or I'd say something about like, go read it and then try to figure out which chapter Josh wrote, because you should be able to. It's pretty easy because we have different writing styles.
Right. So this one's a huge topic. It's a huge topic. Before we dig into it, who designed that cover for you, man? That's a good looking cover.
There's some guy named Randy Smith. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. I like that cover. I may need to talk to him about doing my next one. We'll see.
At least you don't have to hire nobody for your own.
That's very true. It saves a lot of money when you price covers. Cover artists are expensive.
Oh my goodness. Phew.
So let's talk about it. There's a lot to talk about there. Obviously, we know what inspired you to write it. We want to share the truth about where we live.
Well, I'd actually love to share, if you don't mind, I'd love to share how I actually got into the topic itself.
Please do.
So the same brother, okay, so the same two brothers that I mentioned earlier, Drew and Sterling. So Sterling, he wasn't like one of those people like, all they want to talk about is scriptural cosmology, but he would talk about it every now and then. He would send me text. He would send me like Wits It Gets It, for anybody that's familiar with Austin. He would send me like his debates, and I'll be like, come on, dude, I ain't got time for all that. So my cognitive dissonance was heavy, just like anybody else. Lifelong indoctrination since about age 5, just like everybody else growing up our society. So he couldn't reach me. It was actually the other guy, Drew, who was studying the Windows of Scriptural Day topic a lot. He sat there at the house that we moved from in Calhoun, and he sat there, and it was amazing. So my wife, for context, my wife would drop little nuggets, but sometimes you need to hear somebody out of your household to actually be open to something. That's just the way it is. It kind of offended her, but it's all good. I think she forgive me. So Drew sat there one Sabbath. We're all hanging out, and this topic comes up, and every time I get irritated, he said, well, now, Matt, it might not be a salvational topic to you, but it might be to others. Like, say, for instance, these weren't his exact words, but pretty much what he said in a gist. If it brings an atheist to the truth of the scriptures and the Creator and the Messiah, it's salvation for that person. So that was another moment where the Most High hit me in the head with a brick. And I'm like, okay, Abba, I'll study this one now. I don't want to, but I will. And so my journey to the truth on the topic of cosmology was not like everybody else. You hear the name Rob Skiba thrown around like crazy, but I didn't watch his stuff to begin with. I'd seen his stuff before, and I'm like, who is this dude? I don't know about that guy. And so I started watching Josh's stuff, but I did run into Skiba's, was it testingtheglobe.org or something, or .com?
Yeah, I know he had a Testing the Globe something.
Yeah, so I saw somewhere, heard it on a video where he committed 6 months to the topic and studying it and putting everything to the side. And so I was like, okay, Skiba, I got you ×2. So I committed to a year, just going hard at it, doing a ton of research. I ended up, it was about 15 months. And at that point, it's like, okay, this is ad nauseum. I'm seeing the same information over and over again, because I read like 10 different books, probably watched over 10 documentaries, read a ton of articles. Of course, I'm one of those crazy people that got a P900 and actually did my own experiments. Ooh, so I did all that stuff, and then I'm like, okay, I guess I'll write a book on it. And I actually approached Josh. I was like, because he is super smart. He's a biology teacher. He's been doing that I don't know how long. And I'm like, man, if I can get together with this dude, this book will be epic. Yeah. And so even though and it was funny, the Most High has blessed me with a gift of writing. So this is to boast in him what I'm about to say, not because Matt's great. So when I can sit down, I turn the phone off, throw it in the other room, or put it in a drawer, and my focus is on the computer. Because normally, what I do when I write a book, I write it in a Microsoft Word document. I'm a prolific writer. Like the pages just explode out of my hands because the Most High gave me the gift. If I can keep my focus, if I'm not distracted. But so it's funny when we were writing the book, because me and Josh wrote the book. I think it was during the summer of, when was it? 2022. Let me look in the front so I don't say wrong. Let's see. Yeah, 2022. So it's funny because I was like banging like 2 or 3 chapters out, and I'd be like, "Hey man, how's your chapter coming?" And he's like, "Oh my gosh, dude, I'm still in my first paragraph. Oh, how do you do it, dude?" I'm like, I mean, I got a lot of time. You got a family, so and so. You got stuff to do, and so I mean, this is my 4th book, and he's never wrote a book, so he's probably wrote articles and stuff. And so finally, he got his chapter done, and I don't know how many chapters I'd written at that point. So it was funny, but I mean, the book wouldn't be what it is without him. So the approach I took is, so I read like about 10 books. So the first book, I would highly recommend this book, along with Randy's book as well. It's called Confusion in the Cosmos. I forget the author's name. That I highly recommend that book. If you don't grab a copy of this one or Randy's book, definitely get a copy of that one. It's an amazing book. And yeah, I'd read it and I'd take notes, and then I go back and research whatever I wrote down. And so I read that. That was the longest book I read. And then the shortest one I read was like 37 pages long. I read Matt Long's book. And so I took what I liked and didn't like in all those books. And then, so I'd write a chapter, and it wouldn't be like super beefy, but I would give enough on the topic where you can take away something. And then at the end, I'd put something like, well, if you like all what we said, check out these topics, just because this is a book that could be 2,000 pages if you want to cover everything, or it could be 5,000 pages.
Yeah.
And the most important chapter in the book is the last chapter. And so I've had people come up to me at different events, like, which I'm sure you're going to talk about the latest event in a few minutes, probably hit me about it. So oh yeah, I saw you at the film premiere too. Mm-hmm. So I had somebody come up to me, and I mean, these kind of moments like make you feel amazing, make you keep going. So this couple comes up to me after the film premiere, and I'm like selling copies of the book, whatever. And this lady comes up, never met her. She's like, "Oh, I just want to say thank you for writing that book. It's been such a blessing to me." She said a few other things, and I don't remember if I teared up, but I probably once I was like, "Girl, come here and give me a hug." Never met the lady. So, I mean, just to know it's a blessing to people, and it's changing people's lives. And so the last chapter is called The Ultimate Truth. If you haven't read the book, I don't want to spoiler alert, but basically this topic is so important. There's a lot of people out there that will say, "Oh, it doesn't matter." And normally the people that say that have never tested it, but they don't know that thousands of former atheists come to the truth of the creator, of his creation, of the scriptures because of this topic. And that's why it's so important. Like I want to stand on Judgment Day knowing that I wrote a book like this, and I put out a bunch of videos that help people, whether they're already keeping Torah, whether they're Christian, whether they're atheist, agnostic. And actually, it's really cool too. So actually the editor for this book is actually a 16-year-old girl. So I had to build rapport with her mom over Messenger on Facebook. And so, but her mom told me that there was a group of people sharing some of my videos, and Mormons were actually coming to the truth of creation. So this is a topic that brings Mormons, who they have a very interesting cosmological understanding from their book, and atheists and agnostics. So I want to stand on Judgment Day knowing that I am on the right side of that. I help people come to the truth. And then you got people that say it's stupid, And there's actually a YouTube channel, I forget the name of it. She did a series called The Flat Earth Delusion. I was like, oh my God. Wow. So,
Well, I mean, that is what it's all about, is bringing people to the Most High.
yeah.
And any way we can do that, I always say that it's kind of like the military. As followers of Christ, there's different branches. We each have different specialties.
Yep.
Not all of us teach or, really focus on the same thing. But each branch serves a vital role. You can reach someone that I cannot. I may be able to reach someone that you can't, depending on what we all play that role. But if we let the naysayers and the hate keep us from doing that, I'm with you. I want to be on the right side of things come Judgment Day, not allow to the discouragement to keep me from doing what I feel called to do.
And let me say this real quick while we're talking about it. The topic of, I don't like the word FE. I'll just say that so we don't get flagged just in case. But the topic of scriptural cosmology, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments on this video, one of my videos. This is the only topic I found that actually brings atheists to the truth. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, I've never seen another topic. You can't put the Most High in a box. I think that he uses this topic to show that you can't put him in a box.
Absolutely. And people say that this does put him in a box, that this limits his omnipotent power to create all of this made up stuff from science fiction. And I say that it actually takes him out of the box and shows his true creativity, and also how important we are to him. We're at the center. We are the focus. We're not just an insignificant speck in a sea of specks and a sea of more specks, and it just goes on and on and on. We matter. We're important. So I think this topic matters and is important for those very reasons.
Yes, sir.
And I do intend to check this out. I just have not read it yet, but I kind of want to read it and see what I missed in mine and all that good stuff. So
I'm pretty biased. It's pretty good.
I'm sure it is. So I mean, it's a huge topic, and we could talk about this, for hours. We could begin to dig into what each chapter's about and go into great
But if
detail.
anybody's interested, check out my Truth About Cosmology playlist. And if you're one of those newer generations, and we talked about YouTube Shorts a while ago, right. If you like the short clips, just check out the Truth About Cosmology clips playlist. I have a few of those, and there's just about any topic you can think of. There's hundreds of videos on there, so there's something for everybody.
Oh yeah. Like I said, you've got a lot of videos on your channel on a lot of different topics. I saw someone in the chat. I'm terrible about keeping up with this scrolling conversation over here, but I saw someone say that they did sub to you. So there's one for you.
Gracias.
I don't know who it was. I've lost it already. But I wanted to talk, before we talk about the most recent event that you've been to, I wanted to talk a little bit about your writing process. You kind of touched on some of it as you were talking about your books, but like when you sit down to write a book, like what does that look like? Are you a plotter? Do you do like a plot outline? How long does it, like, to where you plot out each point that you're going to discuss? Chapter 1's going to be about this. You're going to hit A, B, C. Or are you a pantser? You just kind of write it as it goes by the seat of your pants.
Would you say a pantser?
A pantser, yeah. In the writing world, they're called plotters and pantsers.
That's really a term, pantser? Oh my
God. Really is a term, yes.
I've wrote 4 books and I had no idea about those terms. Oh, that's pretty funny. No, I'm definitely a pantser. No way. Yeah. I do not have a personality like, okay, we got A, B, C in chapter 2. No. Yeah. Whenever the Most High directs me and he puts something in my spirit, I'm like, okay, let's get it.
That's what I found myself doing with Lifting the Veil and Constellations. I was a pantser for that for the most part. But when I did shift over to Dream Warrior and doing some fiction work, you'll want to plot out a little bit more. So that's one of the big, huge changes that I noticed.
Yeah, there's like a plot and a story, so that's a little different. So I guess you have to approach it differently. So
right,
that makes sense.
Sounds like we're the same though, as far as being pantsers on these type of books. How long does it take you on average to write one?
trying to think. Well, it only took a few months with the when a day starts, just because I was studying that topic so hard, and in my living situation, I had so much time. It was such a blessing there. You're not. Yes, sir.
Right.
So I guess it depends where I'm living and my work schedule. And 3 to 6 months is pretty easy,
Really?
I would say.
Oh,
Depending
wow.
on how the length of the video or the book. Because I started a. I don't know if you're going to ask about future projects. Should I wait to answer that?
I am going to ask about those. Yeah,
Okay, I'll wait. I'll
we're going to
wait.
talk about them.
I figured that was one of the questions. That's a smart question to ask any interviewee. Yeah, the cosmology book. It took at least a writing part. Of course, you know the process with editing and all that. That's you got to
Oh,
wait on the editor. You're kind of
yeah.
out of control. You're not in control of that part of the creative process. So yeah, I think it took me probably 4 to 5 months to write the Truth About Cosmology book. At least
Okay.
the 16 chapters I wrote, because Josh wrote one, obviously, and he wrote the stuff on the back. So, but I'm not gonna say that's the case every time I write a book because I'm actually. Let me not answer that question yet.
Okay. Yeah. We need to talk after the show and let me find out how you're able to crank it out that fast. Of course,
Yeah.
I've got kids and
Yep.
all that stuff too. So it takes me a little longer, but 3 to 6 months, that's awesome, man. Um, so when you publish, do you publish solely on Amazon or are you on other markets as well? Like tell us where we can find all the places we can find your stuff.
So I used. Oh, what is the name of that publishing place? Dang it! What is it? So
I
all of
know.
them should be available on Amazon.
Okay.
I'm trying to I'm trying to remember the. So I know I did the Truth About Cosmology solely on Amazon and the first and second books, but the third book I took a different approach, and I forget the name of the actual website right now, which is terrible, but so it put it on different platforms. So that book is available on Barnes and Noble, but the
Okay.
others are not. But you can still find them on Amazon too. I know there's some people like I'll touch on this, and if I offend somebody, it's okay. I still love you. But there's some people that are boo on Amazon, and
Yeah,
for,
I've
for
noticed that.
for a season I was, and I was like, because I learned about some evil stuff that they were allowing on their cloud platform,
Hmm.
and I was like, man, I can't spend no money there. And then about a month later, I think I was like, Matt, you sell books on there, dude. Don't be a hypocrite.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, okay. And then I realized it's just a platform. It can be used for good. Just like right now, we're on a platform run by a company called Google, which I'm
Right.
sure behind some closed doors they do some nefarious things, but we
No
can't control
doubt.
that. We live in a figurative Babylon, so we're doing the best we can with these platforms. So yes, the book is for sale on Amazon. I can't control Amazon does evil stuff, so
I
I
mean,
just had
and
to touch on that because that kind of gets on my nerves when people do that. They're like, "Oh, I'm so boo on Amazon. They're trying to destroy small businesses and da 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 da." I'm like, "Hey man, if I can make a difference in somebody's life with a book on Amazon, I'm going to do it." Sorry.
absolutely. I mean, the reality of that is, if we want to reach people with our books at this point, Amazon's really the biggest way to do that.
Yep.
And yeah, they're taking away from small businesses, but not purchasing someone's book because it's on Amazon is also taking away from yet another small business that's also pushing the truth out there. So I definitely feel what you're saying there. I've ran into the shame on Amazon a few times, and I always try to break it down like that. I mean, what choice do we have if we
It's
want
a
to reach the
platform.
maximum amount of people?
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a platform. That's all it is at the end of the day. It can be used
Yep.
for good or evil. We choose to
Right.
use it for good. So that's all it is. I mean, you going to stop going to the grocery store?
Yes, that's a great question because almost every organization is is now partnered with the Rainbow Mafia. And
Yep.
we won't get too deep into that because I really don't want the stream to be taken down.
Don't do
So
it. Don't do it.
before we offend too many people, let's go ahead and talk about what are your plans for the future. Not only with your books, like are you working on future projects there? What's your plans for your channel going forward? Let's talk about what the future looks like.
Well, super short term plans for the future. I'm actually doing a Christmas live stream with Josh next Sunday at 6 p.m. So watch out for that one. Hit the notification bell whenever I actually post the broadcast for the live stream. So the reason I'm doing that one is because there's some teachings that going around in the Torah community that it's okay to do Christmas. It's innocent. It's not pagan. So I'm not gonna. It's not going to be like a response video, but I'm going to take a unique approach that it's not going to refute what they're saying, but it's going to give people stuff to think about and maybe look at stuff from a different angle. So that's something like short term. I have for anybody that is familiar with my interview series, I have a series called Journey to the Truth. And I've done, I don't know how many at this point, but I actually have 3 lined up. I need to actually reach out to. So I started Anchor to the Truth. I started the first one with Kyle. And so he wanted me to do one with all 3 of the 3 amigos in his ministry. So I did part 1 with him, and I'm going to have to do part 2 with the other 2 brothers. I just got to schedule them out and reach out to them. So that's something else. I started a spiritual warfare book earlier this year, but I put it on hold for some other stuff. And I'm not sure when I'm going to get back to writing that one, but hopefully next year. So I'm going to take a different approach with that book, because if you go on Amazon right now, there it is again. There's that platform. But if you type spiritual warfare books into Amazon, I don't think you'll find one book wrote by somebody in the Torah community. It's a bunch of, not to say that they're bad, they can be used for good, but they're a bunch of spiritual warfare books written by Christians and
mega pastors.
Some of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's obviously spiritual warfare is important, and you can learn something from these people to cast out demons or strongholds or whatever. But I'm going to take a different approach with my book, and actually, because a lot of those spiritual warfare books, they hone in on one thing, and so I'm taking a different approach. I'm taking it from the 30,000 foot. You hear people in the business world talk about that, and I'm going to look at a lot of different pieces. Yes, I agree. Maybe I'll have to think about getting back to writing that sooner, but
I was like, there's a demand.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, I guess, approach it like a puzzle too. Look at a bunch of different moving parts and put them together and talk about a bunch of different topics. It's gonna be similar to the Torah 101 book, and just bring it all together in the end. But one topic I am going to cover is a dangerous doctrine, and I know you'll say, "Oh man, brother." And I think it's the first chapter I put in the book too, is talking about the belief that demons and Satan are not real. I'm going to attack that one right out the gate in that book, because I mean, that's super dangerous. That's like going into war without a shield, without a sword. Like
you don't know who the enemy is.
Yeah, you don't know who you're fighting, and you just get slaughtered. And so that's a dangerous place to be spiritually if you believe that.
You mean they're not just personified versions of our own evil thoughts and desires? It's actual beings? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I saw what you did right there, a little tongue in cheek. Yeah, it is interesting that the camp that believes that they of course they don't accept the first book of Enoch, because they have to reject that, because they will have to accept the truth about where demons came from. And they also don't believe in the Genesis 6 Nephilim actually being messengers or spiritual beings. And so in that spiritual warfare book, I'm going to go ahead and attack that one right out the gate and just and then get into some of the other stuff that needs to, like renewing your mind and other stuff. And so that, I think that'll be good whenever Abba directs me to finish that.
Absolutely. So what's got you sidetracked from that? Or
Well, I didn't want to get into this, but you had to ask that question.
you don't have to get into it. We can move on if you'd rather not.
No, it's cool. So I started a 6-month coaching program to start a online business last year, and so that kind of took precedence. And I was living with my dad, which we're still living here, but he passed 3 months ago, so I was helping to take care of him. And then I started working a full-time job. So you get it. All these things stack up and
Absolutely.
they take your time. So you're like, well, let me put that one on the shelf for a little bit. So basically a lot of life stuff. And I was like, okay, let me just shelf that one for a while. So
right.
Definitely have to, at some point next year, look at getting back to doing that one.
I'm looking forward to it. So what about your channel? As far as the YouTube, you're staying par for the course, or do you have any big plans coming up with that? An overhaul or?
Overhaul. No, definitely.
Like any major changes? Like you're gonna do any special series releases or anything like that, or are you're looking at just keeping it steady?
Yeah, just keeping it going, and whenever Abba puts like a topic on my heart, I'll do a live stream. I reach out to whoever. Like for instance, I did a New Age. What was it? Lies. I forget it, but I had Curtis Mercer, gentleman that lives north of the border from us. Cool dude. And then I had Morgan.
Yeah.
Wildly Unpopular on that one. That one was amazing. And I look forward to pulling clips off of that, because that was a perfect dynamic duo, having a male perspective and a female perspective coming out of the New Age movement in the Torah. And so So that's basically what I do with the channels. When a live stream topic comes up, something's going on,
gotcha.
or I see something and I'm like, oh, maybe I need to touch on that, just whenever Abba directs me to do a live stream. Okay. And I would like to eventually, I haven't touched this topic, and I would like to, once I get a better computer, because I have issues with lag whenever I do a live stream and videos. So y'all can keep that in your prayers for me, getting the funds to get a MacBook. But I want to cover the moon landing on a Truth About Cosmology episode, because I haven't covered that one yet, and it's a big one.
That would be fun. I did an entire chapter in Constellations about the moon landing and broke down so many issues with the evidence that they provide for that. That'll be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. And speaking of, like you said, whatever's going on, there's always something going on, a topic that needs to be addressed or talked about.
Here we go.
We've had a pretty big going on in the community not too long ago. Mm-hmm. We had two pastors engage over the topic of biblical cosmology, and I believe you were there live at the Greg Locke and Dean Odell.
Yeah, I'm labeling it the Great Biblical Debacle. Oops, I mean debate. Sorry, misspoke
right.
there. Or maybe I didn't. Yeah. So I was gonna do maybe not a response video, just share my experience. I think Josh already did one, and Trey Smith, so I don't even know who that guy is, but I know he was there. He did one, and Witsa Gets It had a live stream where he talked about it. So I was wanting to do that last week, but it didn't work out. Hopefully I can get that done this week. But if you want me to share, I can share a little bit here.
For sure. So, but before you do, I just want to say, I thought when it first started, I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. I've never seen Greg Locke this calm, ever. He come out and he was talking a good game about how they're going to be civil and love, even though they disagree. And I thought, okay, there's actually hope for this. And then I'll let you take it over from here.
Yeah. So Josh has a Bible study on Sabbath with his Patreon folks, And so I get on there with them sometimes, and we were talking about it. I think it came up like 5 weeks before the debate, and he's like, "Did you watch that video?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? Who's this Greg Locke dude?" And so he played the video about it, and he was like, "Oh, we should go," and I was like, "I don't know." And then I warmed up till I did, and so the Drew gentleman that I mentioned a couple times, his family ended up renting an Airbnb about 45ish minutes from his church. So me and Candace stayed with him and his wife, and Josh was there too. It didn't work out where the whole family could be there because little man got sick.
Oh,
And so that was cool. We hung out all weekend, and then Mikey Jenny joined us on Sabbath. So we had a whole entourage, like
man, yeah.
three or four cars going. And I didn't know what to expect. I kept saying before the debate, I'm like, this is going to be action packed. And I didn't know what I was saying when I said that. My goodness. Whew, where do I begin? So, yeah, like you said a few minutes ago, he was spitting a good game in the beginning. And so I didn't know a lot about Greg Locke going into this. Josh told me that during the stuff that happened in 2020, apparently Greg Locke was speaking out about those thingies.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And he kept his church open, which was a big deal, which I wonder if he was actually controlled off with that. Something to think about and consider. But Josh was a big fan of him because of that. Maybe not because of his theology. And so I watched a few videos about him before we went. Of course, I watched the ones that Dave Weiss put on his app where he called them meltdowns.
Oh man,
those are pretty funny.
I've covered a few of his meltdowns on my channel. I've got a couple videos on him, and nice. I don't know. Maybe he really feels the way he does about the coverings, and it's legit because every now and then he says something that I'm like, okay, yeah, that's good, but a majority of the time when I found out it was going to be him in the debate, like I said, when he started talking, I was completely shocked because I've never seen him like that. It's usually 200 miles an hour right out of the gate.
So. Yeah, so it was interesting. When we first got there, there was like 5 or 6 security guards. Like it looked like they worked for the military. I mean, they got the whole vest on. Of course, they got the piece on their hip, and I was like, "What? Why does this dude need all this security?" I guess he has it every week. I don't know because they kept going in and out of a building that was a permanent structure. So I guess he has that security all the time. Which I wonder why he needs that. Maybe people come and threaten him. But anyways, me and Drew were kind of taken back with that, and so of course when you get there, you're meeting a bunch of people. It was really cool. I got to meet Drew Winters, the gentleman, that super talented guy that did the cover for Sean Griffin's Enoch study, and he helped him with the Days of Noah. Some of the animations with that. That was cool. And then I got to see the David and Sarah, the directors of the film that me and Josh are in. So got to hang out with them. That was cool. And so they got up there and they're sitting in their cozy little chairs in the beginning, and they're supposed to have a nice little conversation back and forth, and we were sitting there like, this is about to be over already. We're not even 45 minutes in. They're getting in each other's face.
Yeah.
And then Greg's like, all right, just give your presentation. And that Odell's presentation was epic.
Amazing.
I mean, I've done tons of research, read tons of books, and like the first scripture he gave, I was like, whoa, I didn't think of it that way. Whoa,
right.
Yeah. And I was back there taking screenshots. Like he even tied Josephus into it, and I'd never seen that before. And I was like, whoa. And Drew was like, I've never seen that before. He said that like 2 or 3 times, and it was an epic presentation. And so I'm sitting next to Sarah, the couple that did the movie. So I was hanging with them. Josh is on the end. Mikey Jenny's over here. So it's a cool little setup with our row. And so I looked at her and I was like, now how is Greg Locke going to follow that? Because dude just went like 1 hour and 40 minutes and he crushed it. And so me and Josh were like, what is his one verse? Because he kept saying that in those videos leading up to the debate. I got one verse.
One.
That's all I need, one verse. And I'm like, well, surely it's not Job 26:7 or Isaiah 40:22 because those are easy to refute. And then he gets up there and he's like, and the people behind us were getting frustrated too, like all of us. Now I remember Mikey Jenny. He's a real chill dude.
Right.
Probably 30 minutes in, he yelled out, "Prove the globe," because he's up there giving a sermon. We're like,
oh yeah, he preached hard.
This is a debate. And I realized that I think Greg kind of took advantage of it because he knew a lot of people in them seats were scriptural cosmology folks, and I think he kind of took advantage of that a little bit and tried to preach a mini sermon when he had the mic. So I didn't appreciate that. That was not cool.
Now, what killed me is he wound up debating Nathan instead of Dean. You know, he really didn't attack any of the points that were made.
Zero. And yeah, I watched the last few minutes because I wanted to see Sean Griffin watched the whole thing live and did like a reaction. I was like, and we got back to the Airbnb and I was like, let me go to the last 10 minutes and see what he says at the end.
That's probably the most vocal I've heard him in opposition to someone. He was all over the chat during his coverage.
And it was super funny. I met Matt Long in person too, and that was really cool because I'd listened to him on the podcast he does with Dave Weiss. So I went up to him when I met him. I was like, okay, I gotta ask you. The first Flattoberfest I went to when I met Dave Weiss, I messed with him and I said, "Hey Dave, when you gonna do another podcast? Because you only do one every 6 months." And he was like, I just did one last week. I was like, oh, okay, whoops. And so I went up to Matt Long. I was like, hey, when y'all gonna do another podcast? And I told him what happened with Dave. He's like, well, we're about on the yearly or bi-yearly cycle at this point. And so I ended up subbing to his new channel because I guess his channel got taken down. He made this hilarious video where it's got Neil deGrasse Tyson where he says, "That's gravity." And then of course you know what he says if you watch the video.
Right.
And as he releases it, he clips in where Greg Locke goes, bam, and slaps the mic down. It's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I've actually got a clip for us of that. But I wanted to show this one because I don't want to say that everything he said was a lie. I do believe I believe Greg made one truthful statement during the debate. And I want to play that for us real quick, if you're all right with that.
Sure. Let's see it.
Because you're not going to convince me what the Bible clearly says.
I mean, we're not going to convince him what the Bible clearly says. That's his own words. And I think that may have been a Freudian slip there because maybe he was trying to say, you're not going to convince me what you're saying the Bible clearly says. But one more time.
Because you're not going to convince me what the Bible clearly says.
That's the first truth.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that I didn't appreciate, and I'll share something on Facebook I saw too. So he told Odell he can bring anybody with him. Now I don't know if that meant bring on stage, because at one point towards the end before the whole mic incident, Odell was like, "Come on, Austin, get up here." And Wissett was about to get up there, and I was getting amped. I was like, "Oh yeah, let's go." Austin's about to get up there because he is a beast when it comes to debates. I've never debated that dude on anything. It's at least this topic. If he knows what he's talking about, he's going to destroy you with a debate. And so Greg didn't allow that, which that was not cool. And then after the fact, I think it was the next day or the day after. I don't know if you saw this on the Global Vision Bible Church Facebook page where they did like a press release kind of thing.
Oh, I saw the complete work of fiction.
Yeah. I mean, I was really taken aback with all the lies they put in there. And Josh, I had to admit, he was hoping for the best when it comes to what Locke was going to do, and he was pretty disappointed how it turned out. So, yeah, I was really taken back when I saw that post just full of lies.
Well, at least we got one truth out of the debate.
Because you're not going to convince me what the Bible clearly says.
So
maybe that makes up for the long post of
lies.
What are they calling it now? Misinformation?
I just call it lies. Forget that.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, Facebook should have put that little warning. We're like, oh, this is what do they say? They don't say
Fact check.
misinformation, something else. Yeah, we need to fact check that post. Goodness.
Yeah. That was I was afraid that we were going to get to the disaster that we eventually got to a whole lot sooner. I'm glad Dean
Yeah.
at least got to, present what he had. The government documents are phenomenal. I don't know if you've looked at all of those or not, but
I've
there's
looked at quite a few.
yeah, that's great secular scientific proof for what we're talking about. But it's just like Greg couldn't understand. He just didn't. So you don't believe the government, but you believe the government when they put it in a document, and he's missing the whole. These documents were classified for a reason. They've recently been declassified due to whatever, and it was lost on him. And I noticed that a lot. It seemed like, he's an intelligent guy. I've heard him speak. I've seen a lot of his content, and he is a good speaker. He's an intelligent guy, but it's like when it come to this topic, there was so much that it was lost on him. He couldn't grasp what was being said.
Well, the issue is he'd only
you think
studied
that's
it for like a month. That was the issue. Before
right, but yeah, he was prepared, and I think some of that spiritual blindness as well.
Sure. Totally.
He doesn't want to see, and I don't know. There's so much to talk about. It's impossible to shove it all in. But his one verse was, I was expecting a monster verse that I'd never seen before, that at least kind of related to what was being debated.
I thought it was going to be a doozy. I was let down. I was like,
and we get
me, dude.
We get a sermon scripture yanked from somewhere, and then a anecdotal story afterwards. It blew my mind. It blew my mind. What were your thoughts on that? I can't even explain how I felt about his one. I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to destroy this topic with one verse.
I don't even remember what the verse was. And
about the mercy or the forgiveness being as high as the heavens, and if the heavens aren't that high,
you're putting limits on his mercy if you believe this way. But if you believe in I don't remember the exact words. I wish I'd have watched that part for now. But I mean, I was sitting there like, are you kidding me? Are you serious, dude?
How is this your proof?
What?
And he used the East and West too, because on East and West is never ending on his model.
Yeah, how
so
far
that means the grace, the mercy is never. But on ours, we're limiting it. It made zero sense. Had nothing to do with creation whatsoever.
That's the worst moment in a debate ever.
I mean, there is this.
Because you're not going to convince me what the Bible clearly says.
He's going to be stuck with that one.
It won't not be funny.
But I've got another one I think we should look at.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
This was where I expected it to go a whole lot sooner.
Well, I'll tell you what. How about in your rebuttal, I'll keep my mouth shut and you tell me how wrong I was about your misapplication of the ring stamping in Job chapter 38.
First of all,
hello, is it sunrise or not?
Not at all. I don't agree with you.
Turn his mic off. Get out.
Wow.
You're a Bible denier. You're a Bible denier. You're a Bible denier. That is ridiculous. Bible denier. Just get out. Get the band up here. Woo! Let's worship the Lord.
So let me slap the microphone down and then get the band up here. Woo! Spiritual that fast.
So a little backstory since I was live. So, and this is ironic. So the next day they had a deliverance service. So the way that Greg Locke acted, and he was administering a deliverance service, that was interesting. So I guess when you have a ministry like that, you kind of attract certain kind of people or clientele. So the way they had it set up, so the church was in like a tent, and so they didn't really have a bathroom inside. So you had to go out, walk out the front door, go down the walkway to. There's probably 10 porta potties in a row, And so one time when I was coming back from the porta potties, there was a guy, and I mean, if you've been in any kind of deliverance service or you've been around demonic, you know, you just know. And so I could tell the dude he had something going on, depending on your understanding of the demonic and strongholds and all that. But he was like this, and there was a guy praying for him, and so we were sitting on the right side, almost in the front, and then I guess a group of people started praying for the dude, and he started screaming, and we could hear him all the way in the front. He was like, screaming really loud. And I guess the demon was manifesting or whatever, but there's definitely some stuff going on. And so fast forward to the end, there's a couple of things that happened with this guy. So when the whole mic incident happened, and you saw Witsit get up and walk around, so that guy was walking up to the front, and then there's another gentleman, I'll go ahead and say his name, not a fan, but Nathan Thompson, if you know, anybody knows who that is. He was there too.
That's who Greg debated the entire time he spoke.
No, that was actually somebody else. It was, is that the guy's name?
It was Nathan.
I think
the guy that had the tennis ball on the racket all the time in his videos.
I think it's a different Nathan.
Okay. I could be wrong.
But anyways, he's kind of a polarizing character, and he was outside yelling at people, triggering people. And so the guy that had the demon in him were going to the front, and the demon guy was screaming, and Josh was like, "Oh, we need to go over there. Something's about to go down, I think." And so Josh went over there, and so I wanted to go up and shake Dean's hand, like, "Hey man, you did a great job." I couldn't get to him because there was he had like a huge entourage of like 50 to 100 people, and had a huge section reserved off. And so some of his people were like crowding him just to make sure he got outside safely. So I couldn't even get to him at that point. And so we're all hanging out outside, and the demon guy walks out. He said, "Hey man, they just called the cops. We got to get out of here." And we didn't take him serious because he was the guy possessed by a demon screaming. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, 2 squad cars rolled up, and a lady gets out, and the security guy says something. They're like, lady's like, "Y'all gotta leave." So I mean, that was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely went south fast.
Yes.
But I found it so, I mean, I cut the clip short, but you know, he's Bible denier, get out, turn his mic off, swatting mics out of the air, and then immediately wants to shift into, "Let's get the band up here. We're going to worship the Lord." And that lady gets up there with the flags, doing some kind of, were you still in there to see her waving the flags around and marching back and forth?
They were doing that off and on the whole time. So that's just part of their worship team or whatever.
It's different, but just to go from hate to let's worship the Lord, we're going to do something spiritual tonight. It might have been spiritual, but there's many kinds of spirits.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to say that he is an evil person, but I don't know, man. It just wasn't good fruit.
No, I would say that I think Dean Odell did as best as he could. He probably could have done better, but I mean, if you had to deal with what he dealt with, the disrespect and cutting you, like literally, dude asked you a question, and then you're trying to answer the question, and he cut you off again. And that's why you have moderators for debates. Somebody like Greg Locke doesn't need to be running a debate that he's a part of. That's why you have moderators. Be like, "Oh, shut up. I'm gonna silence your mic." That's why you have that kind of stuff in place. But and something that blew my mind. So well, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that you're right. They're both really big personalities. That they can both get kind of abrasive and loud. So you're 100% right. When you've got two people with larger than life personalities going to debate such a heated topic, moderators should have been a give me. But there was none present.
Something that's interesting before the debate, I actually caught Dean Odell on his way in. I was like, "Hey, Dean, is there going to be a Q&A at some point?" And he said, "I don't know, dude. I don't even know how this is going to go." Like, he didn't even know. Like, until Greg Locke got up on stage, he had no idea how it was going to go down, which is absolutely crazy to me.
He's a pantser. Yeah, He did not plot that debate at all. But yeah, I mean, like he admitted he did very little research on it, and that is just not a smart move when
That
you're
is not
going
a
into
topic you just glaze over and look at it a little bit.
no. No. So it was. How did the atmosphere feel there? I mean, obviously it was charged, but what was it oppressive? I mean, did anything just kind of not set right?
Well, the demon guy was interesting, but I mean, I came
as
out
far
of
as the
the environment. I mean, it wasn't bad. Obviously, he had his supporters there, and then when he would make little points, there's people in front of us to get up like, "Yeah, brother, preach it, woo!" I'm like,
right.
"What? That has nothing to do with the debate." Oh my gosh! I mean, it was cool when you get around a bunch of people, regardless if you're a Christian, Torah observant, or even somebody like Dave Weiss, because I don't know where he's at with scripture, but I mean, when you get in a room full of people that accept that truth, there's normally a lot of love. And so there's a lot of people there like that. So, I mean, it was a good environment for the most part. Only thing I didn't like, it was kind of a turnoff. They were supposed to start worship at 5:30. So we got there like 4 because they were supposed to be like a pre-meetup. And the music was insanely loud. You had to go outside just to give your ears a break for like 10 or 15 minutes. And so, but besides that, I think it was pretty good for the most part, the environment.
Yeah. Now I enjoy worship music.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of modern worship music is great, but I did have to mute my audio quite a bit during their session because it was so repetitive. Just I don't know if you've seen it or not. I wish I had clipped it for this very discussion, but there's a guy that does a video about modern worship and how it hypnotizes people. And it was the same beat, the same rhythm, the same cadence, the same word over and over and I recall something about vain repetition and babbling not being pleasing to the Father. And there was a couple times that I did have to mute it, but I heard some good worship too. I'm not trying to just knock it all down, but it almost felt like it served as a primer for his audience to get them in a state of mind to where they were not going to receive the truth that was coming out. And that may just be me, but
yeah, it was kind of sad that Sarah, the lady who was sitting next to me that filmed, I don't want to say her name incorrectly. I have trouble.
I gave up. I couldn't. I tried to do it in person when I was talking to David.
The Fuke, I think that's it.
Okay.
I've had trouble with their name. I don't know why. But so I was sitting right next to her. Dave was on the other side. My wife's right here. And so there was this couple behind us. I know they were part of the church, Grace Church. And every time Dean would say something, she was like, "Oh, no, no." And then when he was done, she turned around and started like trying to talk to them. And it was sad because they left before Dean spoke, which stunk. Because at the beginning, they were kind of asking questions, going back and forth, and they were like, "He's not answering the question." Like, yeah, he did. He just asked the same question. And so she was trying to talk to him, and they rolled out before Dean got up there. And I was like, man, that's sad that they weren't there for that insanely informative presentation and to hear the truth. But at the end of the day, I like to think positively, and I like to look at good stuff that comes out of stuff. So
sure.
Regardless of how Greg Locke acted, which I expected him to act a donkey at some point, and he did, but there were thousands of people around the world that saw Dean's presentation. So a lot of people, whether they accepted it or not, heard the truth about Abba's creation, regardless of how everything turned out. So there is a positive we can look at.
100%. And I was going to say that as well. You know, any publicity or any exposure for this topic is good.
Yep.
And Greg's got a huge audience. A lot of those were tuned in live, but even more were tuned in online watching. And for the truth, for Dean's presentation to be presented to so many people, that was a huge positive from it.
Yep.
And we'll always have this.
Because you're not going to convince me what the Bible clearly says.
So it was good to see some exposure on people. Maybe it'll wake up some of his own audience to seek the truth and want to ask themselves, what am I sitting under? You know, because there's a lot wrong with that whole situation. Like I said, I've covered some videos on it. I mean, you've talked briefly about it, but his particular
after the show,
his particular flavor of deliverance troubles me.
Mm-hmm. So was he the one that headed up the
demon slayers?
Name?
Yeah, come out in Jesus' name.
Mm-hmm. So he was the one that headed up that documentary.
Yes, and it's his flavor does disturb me a little bit. Their deliverance is real, the demonic is real, possession is real, and yes, Jesus can set people free. But check out my video after the show if you've got a few minutes, and we may actually agree that that's probably not the way Jesus did it. So very interesting stuff.
Might have to check it out.
But yeah, we've been running for right at an hour and a half. I want to value your time and everybody else's. So before we wrap this up, is there anything else that you wanted to say or talk about as far as what you've got going on? Maybe let people know how they can find you, how they can support you. Any closing remarks on the great debacle, as you call it?
Yeah, if I end up doing that video, it's going to be called the Great Biblical Debacle of 2023 or something, because it wasn't a debate. Let's be real. Let's see. I mean, obviously, go subscribe to the channel. I mean, just check out, after you subscribe, go check out the playlists. If you don't know how to access those, just, show them how to do it.
I don't know if they can see my cursor on the screen or not, but
is this an actual PowerPoint slide or is it?
It is. It's an actual PowerPoint slide.
Yeah. So if you see on the screen, just go to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 tab over playlist and check it out. There's something for everybody. So if you like interviews, check out the Journey to the Truth interviews. I think interviews are super important because they build people's faith. And there's a bunch of those you can choose from. A lot of familiar faces if you check them out. Truth About Cosmology series, like I said, the Truth or Tradition playlist is a good one. I have a Torah 101 playlist as well. So pretty much all the topics I cover in the book, I have a live stream that I did in the past covering that topic and doing a deep dive. Let's see. If you like the Giants, I have a playlist for that.
You got good stuff on that.
Yeah, so I mean, another one that's really good is, I think it's a new playlist I started a few months back called Understanding the Bible. So I have short clips from other live streams, and I think I just added 1 or 2 with Matthew Jansen when I had him on. Go check out that interview. That was amazing. Now, if he'd have debated Greg, that would have been interesting to watch, because if you want to see an example of how to walk in the fruits of the Spirit, look at that dude.
100%.
And so I guess one of the best ways you can support me outside of the YouTube ministry is definitely grab a copy of any of the books that he presented. So, and if you do buy a copy, and Randy knows why I'll say this, if it blesses you, go on Amazon, that platform, and leave a review, because that actually helps feed their algorithms and the search, and it'll put the book in front of more people. So that's probably one of the best ways you can support me, is just
reviews are so important.
Yeah,
people don't realize how much that helps. I'm glad you mentioned that, because reviews are the life's blood for anyone who's written a book. People won't buy it unless they see some good reviews on it. So definitely, if you have any of his books, get on there and leave a glowing review.
Yeah, it's a huge blessing that we have a number of reviews for the Truth About Cosmology book, and most of them are 5 stars. And I got on there one day and I was like, why is there, was it like 4-star reviews or something? I was like, why are those on there? What the heck? I can't even see the review. But apparently
they didn't leave one. They just hit 4 stars and moved on. My reviews that are not 5 stars, that's always the case. They just leave a star rating and don't explain why.
I wonder if that's Amazon trying to play the system or something. I don't know.
I wouldn't get stuck on it. You like I said, you've got a 4.9 star rating on that book. So anything 4 and up is great, man.
Yep.
So definitely, if you have not subscribed to Back to the Covenant, do so. You'll be blessed by his content. And do you have a Patreon or anything like that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I don't really do much with it, so that's what I didn't really pitch it too hard. So I probably should do more. I only have a few on there, but that's not a big deal. I actually have a gentleman that supports me monthly, so I don't really go super hard like some people are like, oh, so join my Patreon. So I mean,
I'm gonna need his contact info. I'm just
so that's a huge blessing. So
awesome. Well, I mean, before I let you go, just for good measure,
because you're not going to convince me what the Bible clearly says.
Wanted to leave you with that, man.
Just
brighten your night. We're not going to convince him, but I think you do a great job in the information that you present on your channel.
Thank you.
So I am going to let you go before I close this out. Any parting words, man?
I knew that you were going to ask that. You know what? I will talk about this.
Okay.
So I'm a big proponent of emotional health and healing. So, and I say there's a huge hole in the faith community, Torah community, whatever you want to call it. And so I would say, if you have any past trauma, hurt, pain, unforgiveness, deal with it, work through it, do what you got to do. Because if I had that book, I just bought a book it's called, what is it called? Emotional Healthy Spirituality. Now, it is written by a Christian pastor, and I'm not going to say I co-sign with everything he believes, but he pretty much teaches in that book that it's impossible to claim that you're spiritually mature without being emotionally mature. So, and it's especially true for men. So I'm kind of I guess cut from a different cloth or whatever. So I'm actually a dude that will spend a lot of time digging into my pain and overcoming it, because I actually have a guy that coaches me. He's like a life coach or emotional health coach, and I meet with him periodically, and he keeps me accountable, and he sees stuff where I need to work, like chinks in the armor. And so any heart issues that you have, work through them. Abba will bless you and show up for you, because I guess I can share this really cool. So yes, I'll share that instead. So when my dad was alive, so I inherited, we were talking about deliverance and stuff before. So I inherited anger from him. And so he had it, I had it. So it was kind of, I feel sorry for my wife when we moved into his house last December. She kind of got a double dose of it. And so I was doing when I was part of that coaching program earlier in the year, I was doing applying a lot of stuff that I was learning to myself and stuff I'd already learned. And I was focusing on getting healing anger. And then one day I realized that the Most High had completely delivered me of my anger. And I was like, whoa. And I came home and told her about it. And she was like, okay, I'll test the fruit. We'll see, right, Buster. And so I was obviously walking in fruits of the Spirit more, because anger is not fruits of the Spirit. And so she saw it in me. She's like, okay, there's a change. And so a few days later, she comes to me. She's like, Matt, your dad is acting strange. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, he's being nice. I was like, okay, because he wasn't all bad, but he's an old man. He get grumpy at times. This is what it is. And then other times, I like to talk smack and be goofy, and I think I got it from him. So we go back and forth. So we'd have fun too. And so I think it was the next day after that, I would put it in Candace's spirit. He spoke to her and said, there's a generational curse that was broke. So when he delivered me the anger, he also broke that chain spiritually and delivered my dad of anger.
Wow.
So I was like, wow. And then so that's amazing. I love sharing that story. And so it's actually another detail with it. So there's a book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. If you've never heard of it, go grab a copy. That ain't my book, it's somebody else's, and it's been a huge blessing to me and my wife deal with emotions that basically a lot of toxic emotions are buried in our DNA. Until you deal with it, it stays there and you're plagued with it for the rest of your life if you don't deal with it. So in the back of that book, they have different like diseases and just ailments. And so I've had plantar's warts on my right foot for, I don't know, over 10 years. And then I looked in it one day and it said suppressed anger. And I was like, okay. So I worked through the anger, got the deliverance. And then about a month ago, I was doing something and I touched the bottom of my foot and I was like, whoa, what the heck? And that they're probably 95% cleared up. And they've been on my foot forever. And the only thing I can figure is I've been working through so much emotional healing that the Most High is like, I'm going to bless you, son. I'm going to, because I was okay if they were there the rest of my life. I'm like, okay, I worked through the anger. If they're there, it's all good. Because it's not really, doesn't really hurt or whatever. It's just a nuisance. And they're almost completely gone. I was like, wow, that was an amazing blessing. So that's my advice to anybody watching or still watching. if you like these long teachings and you actually can hang in and not watch for 4 minutes and go somewhere, but is to dig into your emotional pain and give it to the Most High and do what you got to do, because when you put the work in, he'll bless you, as you can see from how he's blessed me. So that's 100%. My parting advice.
I mean, that's great advice. I second that. Forgiveness, yes. Working on ourselves, making sure that we are reflecting the fruits of the Spirit. 100%, man.
Yeah, let me share something else real quick before we jump off here. So I hired a life coach probably 6 or 7 years ago. And so one of the biggest takeaways, I had like 12 sessions with him, something like that. One of the biggest takeaways is the Most High used him as a tool to teach Matt about forgiveness. And so one thing he did is he had me, and this is something that you can apply, anybody that's watching still, do in your own life. So a couple of things he did to help me to work through forgiveness I had at the time is write out a list of all the people you think you have unforgiveness towards. Let me tell you, it was a big list. And as I was writing the list out, obviously what your mind is focused on, your subconscious will bring stuff up. And so names started coming, and I was like, oh, like this one dude, I was like, oh, I forgot about that. Write it down. And then he helped me like work through it. And one thing that was super powerful is I had unforgiveness towards both my parents. And that's true for probably 99% of people. Is our parents did the best they could with what emotional tools they had raising us, but they're not all perfect. They're going to do something to hurt us at some point. So what he told me to do was to take my parents out to lunch or somewhere where we can talk privately and just ask them questions to dig in to how they were raised as a kid, to get a perspective or get their perspective of how they were raised, to give me understanding of why they raised me the way they did. And so it was really cool to see my dad talk about his father, my late grandfather. He was like, yeah, my dad was my hero. And he's very disconnected emotionally and he doesn't light up, but he lit up when he was talking about his dad. It was really cool to see. And then my mom, of course, she's a lady. They're more emotional. So she was talking more, and it was great to really hear that from both of them. And that really helped me get a lot of healing. So like Randy said, forgiveness, super important. And after I worked through that process, I had so much more peace because I was holding on to all that junk in my heart, and I let it go. I worked through it. Allah bless me. And it was amazing.
It's awesome. And you're echoing that the forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you.
Yes.
So that's awesome, man. Those are great parting words. If you want to hang out in the studio, we can chat for a few minutes after. If you got to go, I get that too. So I'm going to release you, and then I'm going to attempt to close this out. Thanks, man, for being on.
Thanks for having me.